you. So when I saw that, I decided my presentation tonight was going to kind of go along with that same theme of being you. So I asked myself the question, are you really your true you? And when I thought about that, I was like, I feel like I'm a pretty good at being me. I feel like I'm always a kind person. I always go above and beyond. And, I thought back to my early days. So how many of you feel like, yeah, I'm pretty good at being my true me? A few, yeah. So we all need some work. We know that. So then I had the question come to me, though, well, am I unapologetically me? And what I mean by that is, can I be my true self without apologizing for it? And I thought about that, and I was like, am I unapologetically me? And that is something that I learned through my recovery. I didn't grow up unapologetically me. And I don't know if many of us really do. So what that means is, like, can you be you without apologizing for it? Now, if we're a bunch of old cranky old broads, then we feel like we have to apologize for it. Maybe we need to work on, instead of being your true you, be a better you. So I grew up a very shy person. And when I say shy, I mean, like, I could not even have a one-on-one conversation with somebody because I thought that they were staring at me too intently. And I'd be like, stop staring at me. And they're like, but we're just talking. I'm like, but it's too much attention. I hate attention. So that made me kind of an introvert, even though I felt like I could be an extrovert. It was very hard for me. So how many of us have ever started out a phrase, I'm sorry, but? Yep. I think we hear that a lot. I felt very passionate on the inside, but I didn't feel comfortable enough with being my true self to not say I'm sorry. Like, if someone asked me for my opinion, I would want to give it, but I was too afraid of what the response would be. I wanted everybody to like me. I didn't want to ruffle feathers. And so I would kind of say what I thought they wanted to hear. But I knew that that didn't feel right. Like, that wasn't my true me. So I was not unapologetically me. I was being somebody that I thought that they wanted me to be. So I would never really speak up unless it was something that I was very, very passionate about. And that is something through my recovery that has changed. And I know sometimes people say, well, that just comes with age, but mine, it definitely happened when I had to get so real with myself and ask myself questions that I never asked before. I'm like, well, what's wrong with being your true you? What's wrong with giving your opinion? Now, I don't think you have to apologize for giving your opinion. You may have to apologize for the way you deliver your opinion. But I can do that now. And I don't know where or how that changed during my recovery, but I kind of gave myself permission. I gave myself permission to go, you know what, I am a good person. I know that I'm a kind person, and I know that I can make somebody's day better. And that is what I strive for every day. I have had to dig down to a place so deep inside me. And I don't think that I would ever have gotten to that place unless this had happened to me. So for those of you that don't know, 7 years ago, I was hit by a drunk driver, and it has taken 4 years for me to be able to walk the way that I am today. I've had 12 surgeries at this point, and I will have some more. But going through a 4-year recovery has brought me to a place where I have had such growth, and I know who I am. I know who I am 100%, and there is no question about it. And I'm confident in being that person. So I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I was at an event, a school event, with one of my kids. And you guys know we always have that one person or that parent, when you see them, you're like, oh. You turn and you're like, you don't want to even interact with them because you know exactly what it's gonna be like. It's negative, it's, hey, let's tear everybody down, and it brings you down. And you know that by entering a conversation with them, before long, your shoulders are the ones that are slumping and you're feeling bad. And you're like, why am I feeling bad? I'm not doing anything wrong. So you just kind of avoid that situation. Well, we were at an event and, I happened to look up and I saw this person and I wanted to do that turn, but we locked eyes and I'm like, snap. I'm like, well, we got to do it now because I made eye contact. So I steeled up and I said, hey, how things going? And I knew how the conversation was going to go. I knew it. And before long, it went exactly the way that I thought it was going to. And something inside me has changed where I'm like, you know what? I've lost some patience. I mean, I had so much patience before, but I've lost some patience for certain things that I just don't need to tolerate anymore. And I was like, okay, how can I tell her in a polite, constructive way that her attitude really sucks? And that's what I did. I said, I'm like, every time we talk, I'm like, you seem kind of down. I'm like, you've got some rage going on. And she stopped us right in the sidewalk. And she's like, I almost did this because I'm like, she's the kind of person who would haul off and hit you. And she goes, you're right. And I was like, okay, well, that's not what I expected. And she said, thank you for telling me that. And at that point, I had not started speaking yet, but I was blogging. And if any of you guys have read any of my blogs for that first full year, you know that they are very raw. I mean, I was definitely my true and unapologetically self in those blogs. I mean, I went down to the nitty-gritty. So she said, Carey, I read your blogs every week, and I just wanted you to know that I look forward to reading them. And they just kind of helped me. And at that point, I didn't really believe her because she was just that kind of person. And I said, okay, thank you. And I turned to leave because I really didn't want to talk to her anymore. And I was not being my true self in that moment. Because my true self really wouldn't have done that. I would have taken the time and listened and really thanked her appropriately. And it was because I had this preconceived opinion of her that I had already formed, because that's the side that she showed everyone. And so I turned to leave and I felt this very heavy hand on my shoulder. And I cringed, and inwardly I looked up to God and I said, you owe me for this. And I turned around, and when I looked at her, her eyes were filled with tears, brimming. And I thought, okay, I did not expect this. What's going to happen now? And she said, wait a minute, Carey. She said, you don't understand. I'm like, obviously, I have no idea what's happening in this moment. She said, my shoulders are so heavy. And she said, I have so much rage and I don't know where it comes from. But when I read your blogs, it gives me a different perspective. And it brings me a little bit of peace so that I can get through. And I, at that moment, felt very ashamed of myself. Because I had not stayed true to myself. And I was like, wow. Because these are the moments that before my car crash, I would notice, but I would kind of run through. I wouldn't stop in the moment. And now I know when these moments come. And usually it's when a lesson's going to be handed to me. And that's what happened that day. Because I had already prejudged her, I did not take the time to look at this individual and ask myself the question, what is so heavy on her heart? What is making her so frustrated and agitated that she feels like she needs to act out in this way? I didn't take the time to get to know her. I didn't want to, because she brought you down. But she is a person as well, and she had things that were going on in her life that she could not handle. And it's that moment in time that we have no idea how being our true, unapologetically self, how much we can actually impact someone, whether it's just for the day or whether it's for life. And that was my first, I guess, realization. But hey, somebody's paying attention to what I'm saying. Everything that I poured out in those blogs and everything that now I do speaking, somebody is paying attention. And they're paying attention because I have chosen to be me. I have chosen to be open, and I have chosen to be unapologetic about who I am. So every day that you go out, I would like you to make one person feel good about themselves every single day. And then I want you to notice how that makes you feel right here when you do that. When you bring a smile to someone else's face, how does that make you feel? Because the reward is not just for them, it is for us. And every time that I speak, that I sometimes think, my gosh, why do I keep putting myself through this? Because it is so hard some days to go through it and relive that over and over again. And then somebody comes up to me and says something absolutely crazy that they are going through. I feel like mine is trivial, especially when it's someone very young and I see that they don't have the maturity to handle it. It sounds like they don't have any support, that they need something to hold on to. I was very fortunate because I had friends and family, and I had this whole community by my side. And there are not as many people who are as fortunate as I was. So I want to encourage you always, when you're in that moment and you find yourself maybe being a little bit too negative, maybe you're talking about somebody in not such a nice way, just stop yourself in that moment and say, am I being my true self? Am I really? Is this who I really want to be? And if the answer is no, you, at that moment, you have the ability to change your attitude. You have the ability to change your behavior. And you have the ability to change how your heart feels about everyone else. This recovery has made me care so deeply about people that I don't even know. And I have so much love in my heart, it is crazy. And I will give it to everyone if they'll have it. Actually, I'm going to give it anyway, I don't care. So, I want to read this quick little quote to you that will finish it up. It says, I am unapologetically me. I am full of sparkle and of compassion. I genuinely want to make the world a better place. I love hard. I practice kindness, and I am not afraid of the truth. I am loyal, adventurous, supporting, and surprisingly, I am unapologetically me. I make mistakes, but I own them and I learn from them. I am a woman, and I am unapologetically me. That's what I have for you.
Thank you, Carey. Let's give her another big hand. Didn't she do a great job? We have a little gift for you, so thank you so much for sharing with us today. So, all right. And Carey does have a booth right over here if you'd like to stop by and visit her afterwards, and if you have any questions or just would like to talk to her, she'd be glad to. So, all right, thank you. All right, we will be back at 7:30 and with lots and lots of door prizes. Okay, so stick around. Thanks.
Get another drink. Should we get another drink? No, thanks.